At 5:45 tonight, there's the Children's Royal Variety Performance in the presence of Her Royal Highness Princess Margaret, and featuring a superb lineup of stars at the Victoria Palace Theatre. And that means our evening visit to Ramsay Street is slightly earlier than usual today at 5:20. But now, the news on BBC One with Moira Stuart.
Police across Europe search for the IRA killers of 3 British servicemen. Support for the Dover Seamen's dispute spreads, but P&O get some ships away. And champions again, Liverpool get their hands on the league trophy. The police in Holland say yesterday's gun and bomb attacks on British servicemen could have been carried out by one IRA terrorist. But they admit they've made little progress in their investigation. Police all over Europe are now involved in the hunt. 3 servicemen were killed and 3 seriously injured in 2 attacks at Roermond and Nieuwbergen. The victims came from bases across the border at Wildenrath and Laarbroek. The families of the injured men have flown from Britain to join them. 2 are in hospital in West Germany, 1 in Holland.
It's on Saturday nights that carloads of young servicemen drive into Nieuwbergen and Roermond. In the days between, these places return to being just another small Dutch town in that part of southern Holland which is sandwiched between Germany and Belgium. So it has been today, except for the street leading from a multi-storey car park where police now believe a single gunman opened fire on 3 British servicemen as they drove away after their evening out. Municipal workers have helped police to search the drains for spent cartridges, watched from the balconies of flats overlooking the spot by people who were fast asleep when the gunfire began in the small hours of Sunday morning. The search for clues has been intense. With the boundaries of their country so close on 3 sides, the Dutch police know they are seeking a killer who has already fled. They'll need all the assistance they can get from Interpol and in particular British experts on IRA terrorism and its methods. Members of the British forces in Germany heading westwards towards Holland are now met by signs advising them not to do so, placed at border crossings through which thousands of cars of many nationalities pour every day. These little towns just over the border between Holland and Germany are an immensely attractive alternative with their bars and discotheques for servicemen serving out their time in the comparative isolation of British military bases in the German countryside. And the Dutch Attorney General has today expressed his regret that the British authorities are now advising their servicemen not to make this journey anymore unless it's absolutely necessary.
Security at British bases in West Germany is always tight. But in the wake of the IRA killings in southern Holland, British troops are now being reminded that when they're off duty and off base, they mustn't be off guard.
In touch with home, BFBS.
The morning show with Carl, it's 10:15. Terrorists don't relax, they wait for you to.
Stay alert and stay alive.
The frequency of radio warnings like that are being stepped up. The military commanders realising that when it comes to off-base security, each serviceman is very much on his own. Is there anything more that can be done to protect them when they're off-base?
I regret there isn't anything specifically other than a greater awareness and alertness which needs to be put over at regular intervals so that individuals are not caught off guard and above all don't remain complacent.
The system, which gives easily identifiable number plates to British servicemen's cars, has come in for criticism before. Now it's going to be reviewed. Both the cars owned by the servicemen attacked yesterday bore British Forces number plates.
The 2 P&O strike-breaking ferries have been back and forward across the Channel again today, but the National Union of Seamen dismissed the operation as psychological warfare. They say that around Britain's coasts, all but 200 of the union's 5,000 members are now on strike in support of the dispute with P&O.
At P&O's Dover headquarters, men prepared to cross the picket lines have been called in for their orders.
Everyone's had their chance to go back, you know. I think they're fighting a losing battle. I don't want to lose my job. This is my career. I've got to build up a career for when I want to build up a family.
But at the Seamen's Union here, they now say 250 of those who had accepted the company's terms have now changed their minds. That would mean the union again have a clear majority, with nearly 1,000 on their side. But when they tried to deliver the forms,
out, come on.
Union officials were turned away by P&O.
The response from the company you've just seen, I think, clearly demonstrated to you. They don't want this to be disclosed to the general public.
P&O say the union's claims are predictable. What matters is that they have 2 ships at sea. But the pickets are persuading more working seamen back across the picket lines every day.
It's like the biggest weight you've ever known lifted off your shoulders. It's an unbelievable feeling, you know, to actually walk back across that picket line and be welcomed back.
I joined the ship and I find out that what the company was saying was not true. It was a load of lies. They took us on there, they totally ignored us. They treated us like it was something that just crawled out of the dustbin. And then I looked at my friends, who I've worked with for quite a time, had a good relationship with, and I thought, that's it. That's where I belong, that's where I'm going, that's where I'll stay.
What's happening tonight in Dover is a battle for the hearts and minds of P&O's seafarers, between a management desperate to get a full commercial service operating and a union who again face court action tomorrow.
2 more companies have won court injunctions against the NUS to stop members taking action in the Isle of Man and in Aberdeen. But despite the threat of court action, more NUS members, the crew of the Earl Granville in Portsmouth, have joined the strike. Services to Cherbourg were cancelled. P&O claimed, however, that the crews of their strike-bound ferries in Portsmouth have agreed to resume work. But in Hull, the crew of another P&O ship, the North Sea, decided to continue their sit-in. They were given a vote of support from off-duty colleagues who met at the union's offices in the city.
Sir Geoffrey Sterling has made statements saying that he's busting the strike in Dover. He may well be trying to bust a strike in Dover, but he's causing another 20 strikes round the coast. That's not good business, surely.
And in Falmouth, the crew of the Viking Venturer, which was due to sail to Portsmouth yesterday after a refit, decided to continue their occupation. The prison officer, who was being held hostage by prisoners at Perth jail, has been released. The officer, 25-year-old Tom Mortimer, was seized yesterday afternoon by prisoners in the jail's Sea Hall. It's believed they were protesting against the Scottish legal system. He was set free this morning unharmed. The prisoners who seized him have given themselves up to the prison authorities. Workers in Poland have staged more protests today in support of striking steelworkers. There have been stoppages at several plants, including the Gdansk shipyards.
A strike in the Gdansk shipyards is what the authorities have been dreading most. This is where Solidarity was born 8 years ago, the cradle of the national revolt, which ended only with the imposition of martial law. This time, more than 2,000 men have occupied the shipyards, and Lech Wałęsa says they have his full support. The strike is part of a nationwide day of action called by Wałęsa in solidarity with striking steel workers. Other factories too have answered the call, demanding wage rises and, ominously for the authorities, the reinstatement of solidarity.
The man at the centre of America's arms to Iran scandal, former Marine Colonel Oliver North, has marked his first full day as a civilian with a speech to students at the Liberty University of the right-wing preacher, the Reverend Jerry Falwell. This report from our Washington correspondent, Martin Bell.
The pomp and circumstance were for the Marine Corps colonel, who had exchanged his uniform for academic robes. He was guest of honor at Jerry Falwell's University in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was Colonel North's first day out of the United States Marine Corps, and he was free to speak his mind on ground of his own choosing. It turned out he had plenty to say.
I have been accused of helping the brave young men and women of the Nicaraguan resistance in their struggle for the very liberties that we claim as birthright. I have been accused of trying to rescue American hostages held captive and of trying to prevent other terrorist attacks. Those accusations are not a brand. They are a badge of honor.
The colonel finished in Marine Corps fashion.
God bless you on your journey. Semper Fidelis. Thank you.
In today's football, Millwall made sure of promotion to the First Division by beating Hull 1-0. Meanwhile, the First Division champions, Liverpool, were presented with the new Barclays League trophy before their 1-1 draw against Southampton this afternoon.
Today, the Anfield crowd saw again the trophy it's beginning to regard as its own. This is Liverpool's 17th championship, a record, and it was never in serious doubt. Led by Kenny Dalglish, this is a squad regarded as one of the very best the club has ever produced. They've led the First Division since the middle of October. A week on Saturday, they play Wimbledon in the FA Cup final at Wembley. Their expected victory would give the club its second league and cup double in 3 years.
And that's it for now. Our main news on BBC One tonight is at 10:10.
Hello to you. Well, if you missed the showers today, you were very lucky indeed. A lot of them around, as you can see on the satellite picture, this speckledy effect. We've got another great area of cloud and rain with some fairly heavy stuff working its way up from the southwest now, coming over southeastern parts, I think, through the night. It's associated with this front, which by tomorrow will be pushing its way across into the North Sea. But the low pressure dominating the scene, so a lot of showers circulating around it, I think. A fair number of showers, in fact, around this evening, heavy ones with hail and thunder mixed in them. In many places, they'll be dying down through the night, but as I've already mentioned, we'll be getting an area of cloud soon coming into the central southern part with some rain, perhaps even some hail, crossing the southeast, and then later on getting up into parts of East Anglia as well. Up in the far north, still fairly misty, still some rather more persistent rain in the far north of Scotland, but temperatures really not too bad, down to about 4 Celsius in Shetland at the lowest. And then, as I've said, tomorrow, well, basically sunshine and showers, but putting a little bit of detail on that, probably not many showers in this region to start with. You'll find this cloudier area gradually clearing away from East Anglia. They'll be brightening up. And then it really will be sunshine and showers, with the heaviest of the showers tomorrow, I think, in the afternoon over on this eastern side. Again, some hail and perhaps some thunder mixed in them as well, perhaps not quite so heavy on this western side there. Further north, this band of rain coming a little bit further south, perhaps down into the Moray Firth, and still staying very misty near that eastern coast. Temperatures tomorrow, well, very much the same as they have been today. 17 Celsius is 63 Fahrenheit. And that's it from me.
Entertainment for the May Day bank holiday on BBC One. At 5:45, the Children's Royal Variety performance from the Victoria Palace. At 7:45, in keeping with the weekend of snooker, Russ Abbott. At 8:15, the Great White Shark returns to Amity Beach.
Film 88 comes from New York with a cast of thousands, including Woody Allen, Emily Lloyd, James Woods, Merchant and Ivory, and of course the Big Apple itself.
At 10:55, come dancing when the home counties South compete with Northern Ireland for a place in the semi-finals. At 11:40, Requiem for a Railway, a celebration of 150 years of the Great Western Railway, including some of its finest engines, symbols of the best of British engineering. Entertainment for the May Day holiday evening, here on One. This is BBC One for the Eastern Counties. Now, the regional news and sport.
Good evening. The main news tonight. More of the region's seamen join the strike, now crippling ferry services.
And in sport, Luton win at home against Watford, and Northampton make the third division playoffs at last.
Seamen in Yarmouth have voted to join the national strike. It began at Dover, where NUS members are protesting at new manning levels planned for P&O ferries. At the port of Felixstowe, there are now no sailings, but at Harwich, DFDS ferries have sailed as normal from Parkstone Quay today. And there's a sea link sailing to the Hook of Holland tonight. At Felixstowe, members of the National Union of Seamen started sit-ins last week on board P&O's Doric and Baltic ferries. They were closely followed by seamen on the St Nicholas, a sea link ferry based at Harwich's Parkstone Quay. Now Ipswich and Yarmouth seamen have followed suit. In Peterborough, a man has appeared before magistrates charged with grievous bodily harm after a stabbing incident outside a nightclub. Bernard Bygraves of Hankey Street has been remanded on conditional bail. A Northampton man has been taken to Peterborough District Hospital after being bitten by a poisonous snake. Serum had to be fetched from a London hospital, and the man is now in a satisfactory condition. Well, sport now. Here's Mike Liggins.
Starting with this afternoon's football results, in the First Division, Luton have beaten relegated Watford 2-1 at Kenilworth Road. Watford went a goal ahead when Luton's Marvin Johnson scored an own goal. 19-year-old David Oldfield equalised, and Danny Wilson scored the winner with a penalty just before half-time, his third goal in 3 games. In the Second Division, Ipswich have beaten Birmingham City 1-0 at Portman Road. Ipswich striker Dalian Atkinson scored the winner for Ipswich after 67 minutes. Ipswich 1, Birmingham 0. In Division 4, Colchester's topsy-turvy season has taken another turn for the worse. They've been beaten 4-0 at Bolton. At London Road, a draw for Peterborough against Scarborough, 0-0 the score, but quite a game as Peterborough were thwarted on a number of times, number of occasions, by the Scarborough keeper Kevin Blackwell. Northampton have made it into the Third Division playoffs. They play Sunderland at Roker Park tonight, but Wigan, still 1 place below them in the table, can't now catch them. On Saturday, Northampton got the point they needed to make the playoffs after a 3-3 draw against Blackpool. Northampton's first goal at the county ground from a Dave Longhurst header. The Cobblers needed victory on Saturday to make absolutely sure of securing a place in the playoffs. But in the end, a point proved to be enough. Dave Gilbert put them 2-1 ahead here. Blackpool made it 3-2 before Tony Adcock equalised for Northampton. 3-3 in the end. Northampton, 5th in the table, play at Sunderland tonight, safe in the knowledge that they're in the playoffs, but they'll need to play better to get promoted. And the cricket score from the County Championship match at Lords between Essex and Middlesex. Middlesex declaring their second innings on 275, leaving Essex 352 to win, but they're struggling to avoid defeat at the moment. Essex in their second innings are 148 for 8. And actually, as I speak, I've just heard that Essex have lost by 176 runs. Australian fast bowler Dennis Lilly has arrived in Northampton at the start of his spell with the county side. Lilly met the rest of the Northants team at the county ground today before a short training spell. Northants begin a 4-day county game against Gloucestershire on Thursday. Kim.
Thanks, Mike. Now, here in Norwich at the Look East building, we have a very welcome addition to our ranks. The new arrivals flew in just a few weeks ago. A bird's eye view of Norwich city centre, a mass of concrete and steel, perhaps not the obvious place to bring up one's youngsters. But our visitors have discovered a little patch of green amidst the chaos and taken up residence in the BBC garden. A well-camouflaged nest has been built by a pair of blackbirds. Mother is busily flying to and fro, gathering titbits to pop into the ever-open mouths of her brood. It's a tiring business, feeding a family of 5. This is all happening just yards from a noisy building site behind us. The sprawling new office block for the Norwich Union Company is steadily taking shape. The Blackbird family takes it all in their stride, and the 5 youngsters are concerned about only one thing: isn't it time for lunch? Delightfully ugly little things, aren't they? Let's have a look at the weather now. There'll be sunny periods with scattered showers this evening before more cloud brings heavier outbreaks of rain across the region tonight. The lowest overnight temperatures will be around 8 Celsius. Then there'll be more sunny intervals and scattered showers, some of them becoming heavier. Well, that's it from Mike and me. Back tomorrow at 6:35. Until then, good night.
Good night.
Well, now at 1, it's open house in Ramsey Street.